We would like to invite you to Minneapolis Holistic Expo, November 2nd and 3rd. The Holistic Expo will feature over 50 different exhibitors, several dynamic spiritual speakers, including James Van Prague, Vincent Jenna, and John DeSalvo, many intuitive readers, and so much more. For more information on attending the Minneapolis Holistic Expo, go to www.edgelife.net.
This is Gary Beckman, welcoming you to the 2013 Edge Life Expo. Come and see us.
Hello, my name is Gary Beckman. I'm the producer of the Minneapolis Edge Life Expos. And today it is my privilege to interview Echo Bodine and Catherine Harwig, two of the foremost psychics in the upper Midwest. Many of you know them. They have agreed to answer some of the questions that many of you have, and they get the answers and the questions will give an example of what our expo will be like in the future. My first question is, what do you want to know? And that is the question that a lot of our attendees and a lot of the viewers have about the future that the human race has on this earth. I have the feeling that the earth is going to be here for a long time, but everyone is wondering about this 2012. What is your opinion on 2012 and the significance it has to the human race? And the follow-up question is going to be, where did you receive those answers from? Echo, you want to go first?
Sure. I get a lot of my information from my intuition, which I believe is the voice of God. I also get information from guides that I work with, and I have an angel named Lily that works with me specifically. And a lot of my information comes from readings that I do for my students or for blogs that I do on my website. And, you know, there's a lot of people asking right now, is the world coming to an end, 2012? And the answer is yes, and the answer is no. The world is not physically coming to an end, to my understanding, but we are changing our consciousness quite a bit this year. And I'm seeing that in illness, I'm seeing that in a lot of death. People are really being pushed this year, I think more than ever, to, are they going to get over on a spiritual path and start looking at life from a different perspective, or are they going to stay in the old way of living their lives and looking at life through the old perspective? That's what I see the biggest change being this year. And unfortunately, us humans, unless we are pushed against the wall, we don't change. We won't change. We're afraid of change. And so that's why I'm seeing a lot of illness, a lot of death right now. And yet, I have to say, I see it all as a really positive thing. So we are headed for some continued changes. I do not see the world coming to an end at all, but I am actually very hopeful about our future.
Thank you. Catherine?
Well, like Echo, Echo and I agree on the majority of the points in regard to both 2012 and to a certain extent where we get our information. I get my information in two ways. One, from my intuition, which I have done for all my life. And I believe that's to a large extent a very personal source of my information. And when I don't do readings anymore, but when I did and I would talk to other people, I believe my intuition could tap into theirs and get to their higher knowingness. For the global questions, for what we call the big questions, I also, and even for the small questions, because my guides are chatty, but I also tap into my guides, who I call the Light Collective. I've known them for about 15 years and I trust them, and they look at the world from a very different perspective, from a larger perspective, if you want to call that, because they're not dwelling here. What I'm getting about 2012, I absolutely agree with Echo. I don't think the world's going to come to an end. Will there be change, massive earth changes? I think so, but there always are. And depending on where you live and how it affects you is going to going to depend upon what happens. What I'm being told is a major difference is that 2012, 2013 are huge times of evolutionary changes for the human race. And my guides have gone so far as to say there really is we are developing as humans into, I suppose what I'd call almost two different species. And some of the species which will stay in our logical, practical, conscious state of awareness, and others who are going to evolve into a more intuitive species. And now I don't think we'll look different. I think we'll all live in the same planet. I'm sure, I think we'll get along as well as we ever have. But eventually, and what I'm being told is the intuitive species it's similar to the Neanderthal versus the Cro-Magnon. The intuitive species is a stronger species. And so evolutionary wise, it's more likely to survive. So this is fascinating time. My guides have gone so far as to say we should start the numbering process all over. We should call 2013 year one. And I kind of like that, but I'm pretty sure I can't get anybody else to go along with me when I write a check for 111.
Right.
So I probably won't.
But see, but that goes along with the 2012 thing, the December 21st, 2012, world is coming to an end, blah, blah, blah. No, that's perfect example of, we should start at 111. Because we're going to have a new world. It's changing right now.
Right. And what the Mayans saw and the Hopi saw and so many of these people, when they said the world would come to an end, we have interpreted it to mean it's some kind of global catastrophe, when it's really the world as we know it is changing so rapidly that we could call it a completely different world.
Your answers were beautiful, but it ties into what is known as the Great Years, which is 26,000 years. All the universes have made the rotations, do the swings through the atmosphere, and they come to a new alignment at the end of 25,500 years, and everything starts over for the new rotation. That's 26,000 years is in human time, or 25,000.5. They bring up the Mayan calendar. The Mayan calendar is fine, but all that is a recording device. What we're in now is true 111. And that the astrophysics can take a look at that and document that. That does happen. It is tied into the Earth, to the universe, to the great universe, and to the central sun. So it all fits together into a real nice, neat package from the scientific side to more of the metaphysical or spiritual being that we are used to living in.
Very interesting.
Which also brings to my mind, and this is an extremely important subject and question, as I'm getting older, the Western world tends not to deal with the soul and realize the significance of it. We always push that to the rabbi, the priest, the minister, the church. They can take care of my soul. No. In my thought, no. We are still responsible for our souls. I have theories and thinking on it. I may add later, but Echo, what's your thought on the evolution of the soul?
I totally believe that's what our lives are all about, is the development of the soul. I mean, that's the whole ball of wax to me, is that it's the soul here, living on this planet right now, to grow and develop to its highest potential. And I really believe that's why we come here.
Why has that not been more significant to the people in the upper Midwest, United States of America, and Europe?
I don't know. I think, I would guess it's, I could really get off on a tangent about this, just about religion versus spirituality, but I don't know why people, I think it, bottom line, I really do think it has to do with religion. And religion, I think, is afraid to talk too much about the soul. It doesn't fit with their old way of thinking.
And Catherine?
Well, I think the word soul is used differently by different people. So I'm not sure we're talking about the same thing. I think religion talks about the soul all the time. I mean, they're always talking about saving souls.
Saving souls,
And so they have a completely, I don't want to lump anybody into one category, but I think before you even talk about the soul, you have to define what you're saying. And I'm not sure, when we talk about this whole evolutionary thing, we're not talking about the body, because the human body can't evolve that quickly.
Right.
We're talking about what I would call a soul evolution, but I could also say it's a brain evolution. I'm not sure I can differentiate between my consciousness and my soul. All I know, so how I define soul is it's part of me that's eternal. And that part never can die any more than matter can be destroyed or created. The souls can't either. So, but it does have to grow. I think everything on our planet grows, and everything evolves, and this is a natural process. That's honestly what I think is happening.
I agree.
Well, the soul, I can't give you a perfect definition because, I'm not a man of the letters, but that soul moves with us if you believe into other lives, future lives, past life. That soul stays with us, and that
It's that
us finally
eternal
becomes
peace.
individual. But my question here: do you believe it's time for a major evolution of the soul, so that even we could look at immortality, we could look at having control of our lives, not through the mind, not through the brain, but working and living through the soul to make all our decisions? Catherine,
I think we already do.
Yeah, I do too.
do you?
And I don't think we can be immortal in this body. Perhaps we can. I'm not saying we can't. I just don't know that I care for it. Because I think I kind of like having new bodies every once in a while. It's like driving a new car.
Yep. It is.
But I think the soul is already immortal, Gary. And what I think perhaps the evolutionary piece of it is people recognizing that, acknowledging it, and acting that way. Because as long as you act as if you're going to end in 70 or 80 years, you live in a completely different fashion.
Yes, you
It's
do.
a blink.
Yeah.
It's a blink in the big scheme.
It's a blink, and your priorities are that of a person who's going to end in that period of time.
Yeah.
When you realize that your soul is immortal and it continues to grow, and everything you do affects everything you're going to do and everything you have done, you live in a completely different fashion.
You do.
And your take on that, Echo?
I
know
totally
that
agree. I
you totally agree
agree.
with her.
We are all
hey,
about
the
the soul.
ladies have agreed.
Oh, yeah.
I love
There
it.
you go.
That's, by the way, this has really been a pleasure, or is a pleasure for me to get these two together. It really has not happened in the history of either one of them or in my life. So
Our souls have been hanging around for a very long time.
they're a wealth of information and knowledge that they can share with you. And I think my next question is that you hit a little bit on it, is preparation. Is that the tools that we can use to help us go through all of this. I believe meditation is the single most significant thing that has been given to us. Laying that out, i.e. meditation, what other tools
Oh boy.
can we use to enhance and make our lives better?
Well, okay, I agree that meditation is important, but the word meditation really throws people because they think they have to sit down and go do the Om thing, and they have to be silent and sit in a certain position, and people get really concerned about, am I doing it right or wrong? What if I'm doing it wrong? Am I wasting my time? People have to learn different ways of meditating, which could be going for a walk by yourself, no music on the headphones, just walk, talk to your inner voice. I think the single most important thing that's important to me to teach people is about their intuition, that I believe that it is the voice of the divine within all of us, the voice of our higher self. And if we can connect with that and live our life by that guidance, really focus each day on getting the inner guidance, that to me is what is the single most important thing that a person can do. And again, meditation, prayer and meditation, I think, are both very important, but I don't want to limit it to sitting at the kitchen table saying the same prayer every night, or meditation, just sitting in a Om position doing something that I certainly don't do very well. So
Meditation could be taking a 2-mile run or jog, or 2 or 3 mile walk, or playing around the golf, or sewing your favorite costume, whatever happens to be relaxing to you, to go into yourself. Is that where I'm?
To me, prayer is talking to God, and to me, meditation is listening to God. And so whatever you are doing, to be in that state of listening is what's most important, I believe.
And that is aligning the soul with the rest of your aspects then?
Well, it's aligning the physical body and the soul with the divine. Okay.
Okay.
All three.
Catherine?
Well, I don't meditate. I took a meditation class once and I flunked. So I'm saying that a little flippantly, but that as Echo was saying, the traditional form of meditation is just not my style. I tend to move fast, and I what I do every morning is I sit down with a cup of coffee and I have a conversation with my guides, and I say, what do I need to know for today? And they tell me, and we have a little conversation, and it's very pleasant, and I also think of other things and so forth. And if you're asking me what I think people should do, I think they have to quit. No, they don't have to do anything. Nobody ever does. But what would be useful is to quit looking for outside information and start looking inward.
Yep.
And when I'm talking about this evolutionary thing, I'm really seriously saying the people who are going to start becoming the intuitive species aren't going to need to even talk to, and I'll offend a lot of people. I don't know that you'll need to pray. I don't know if you'll need to talk to angels, because they'll be part of who you are. And so what you're really doing is just sitting down and having a conversation.
Yeah.
What I heard there, Catherine, is that we are gaining another sense, or having that other sense become awake or come alive.
Oh, we have had that sense for a very long time.
It hasn't surfaced to
But
anyone.
but there haven't. First of all, people have, it's been underground. It's been, and then people make it way too hard, so that nobody but the elite have been able to do it. And I do think we're simply getting much better at it.
I do too.
That's what I think is a big change.
Yep.
What do you want to know? Echo and Catherine, I want to ask you a very important question to me, and I think everyone out there. What will you be discussing with the audience?
We're asking the audience to bring their questions. We're really asking them what they want to know. And we're hoping, you've asked us a few questions in this interview, we're hoping that they bring those sorts of questions. We're not there to answer personal questions. We're not there to answer, both Echo and I do that in other ways, but for this particular thing, these are questions that are of general interest to everyone. And we are interested in what their big questions are. What do they really want to know? You have ideas of what the audience might want to know, and Echo and I do. But what we want to hear from, so we'll be having people come up and ask their big questions, and hopefully something that will apply to everyone in the audience.
That is the secret to any worthwhile event, is that you can have some answers that will help the attendees, that will help the person on the street with their life. And that has to do with, that's why I hold these, for that simple reason. That's why I started the Edge magazine, to give thousands and thousands of people a lot of answers to a lot of questions. It doesn't happen to be in this religion, that religion, that religion, this philosophy, but for really what has come down as themselves. Now, Catherine, do you have anything to add, Echo, in this area?
What I like about the way we're going to do this is that we do get to hear what people are interested in. And because, again, both she and I do this kind of work every day, and we know questions that our clients want answers to, but it would be fun to hear. It will be fun for both of us to hear, what the entire audience, what do they want to hear about? Do they want to hear about UFOs? Do they want to hear about spirit guides? Do they want to talk about God? Do they want to talk about intuition? Do they want to talk about the economy?
We want to talk about politics.
We don't want to assume that we know what they want to hear. That's why this talk is going to be different than any that we've done before, because we're asking the people, what do you want to know? Tell us.
And I'm very excited to be working with Echo. We've been friends for a very long time. Both of us, I think, are similar in a lot of ways, in that we're pretty practical, down-to-earth people who do all sorts of very fairy things. But so what I want to know, perhaps, are some of the very practical things that people will ask about. But I don't know what they'll be. Should they sell their house and move to Timbuktu or whatever? It's not a personal thing, so it's not their house, but in general. And we'll see what happens. It'll be fun. And I can't wait to hear what Echo has to say, and I'll be surprised at what I'm going to say.
I am waiting excitedly about what the answers will be to the hundreds or the many questions we will have asked us and them about the chaos, what's going on in our present life all over the world. And that is why it's a great privilege for me and the Edge Life Expo staff to share with you Catherine Harwick and Echo Bodine. Thank you.
We would like to invite you to Minneapolis Holistic Expo, November 2nd and 3rd. The Holistic Expo will feature over 50 different exhibitors, several dynamic spiritual speakers, including James Van Praagh, Vincent Genna, and John DeSalvo, many intuitive readers, and so much more. For more information on attending the Minneapolis Holistic Expo, go to www.edgelife.net.
This is Gary Beckham, welcoming you to the 2013 Edge Life Expo. Come and see us.
Everything is energy. What is energy? Energy are molecules that vibrate or move at a certain rate of speed. For instance, we're sitting in these chairs here. There's a building around me. The energy, the molecules are vibrating, moving at a very slow pace. Very slow. The slower they are, the more dense they become. Dense the building, the solidity of the space is. In this three-dimensional world, the molecules vibrate so slow, so we have what appears to be a physical, solid world here. There are many, many levels of vibration, many levels, if you will, and of speed of molecules vibrating. So there's a fourth dimension, fifth dimension, sixth dimension, seventh dimension. Each dimension, the molecules are vibrate faster and faster and faster and faster. I like to use the analogy of a speeding fan. When you have a ceiling fan and it moves around very, very quickly, you don't see the individual blades because it's moving too quickly. But if you stop that ceiling fan and you slow it down, you begin to see one blade, then another blade, another blade, another blade. Same thing with us. So we are those individual blades here on this physical earth. But you turn it on, you speed it up, you can't see them anymore. Same thing with us. We are a spirit force first and foremost, having a physical experience. And our spirit resides, of course, in the body, but also as a part of that spirit, which is that higher vibration of energy, higher vibration of frequency. So we're all energy all the time, just vibrating at a different rate of speed. So people often say, well, what is energy? How can you show me energy? Can you demonstrate energy? And I said, yes, it's a very simple exercise everybody can do. If you hold your hands like this, and you cup your hands, and you just become aware, just mindful of the space in between the palms of your hands, and just begin to have an awareness of what that feels like, you'll begin to feel a certain pulsation in between the palms of your hands. And soon you'll begin to feel like a difference in polarity, positive, negative, and you actually will feel this sensation of like a tingling sensation, and that's energy coming out of the palms of our hands. And I play with that like an accordion, and everybody can do that. Now, this energy feels a certain way, so I'm being very, very mindful of how it feels. It's a characteristic to that energy. And what I do then is to feel the energy that's coming out of the body with what we call the chakra points, energy centers of the body. So I'm going to start with my third eye center and just feel that, like, whoa. And I feel a difference in the temperature. a difference in pulsation, and it's a difference in density, vibration. Now mine feels very, very open and very clear. And that would make sense because I'm a clairvoyant. I see. So the energy goes pulled right out. Now if I go down to my throat chakra, which is another energy point, it's also it's a creative center. It's also pretty much out there. But there's a very subtle difference between what it feels like with here and here. Yeah? I could say this is more colorful. Yeah? And then I go down to my heart chakra, heart point, and that feels very, very different. Does it feel denser? Not really. It feels more complete. I don't like to put physical traits upon these energetic terms because you're putting these physical descriptions on another dimension, if you will. So then I go down to my solar plexus, which is our seat of intuition, our seat of knowingness, and that feels, wow. That feels like busy, 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 burn, 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 like interesting. So all of these centers, you can feel them distinctly different. And those are all energy points, so you can play with the energy and feel the energy. And remember, thoughts are pure energy. Thoughts are energy. So when you think of something, you're creating a thought, you're creating that energy to go somewhere. You're focusing the energy. That's what thoughts are, focused energy. So you think of someone, that goes right to the energy, goes right to them. So many people walk around the earth with a lot of people's energy on them. Not their own energy, but other people's energy. And I'll often say to people when I see them, did you take a shower or a bath today? And just joking, and they go, well, yes. I said, so you're concerned about your physical cleanliness. What about your spiritual cleanliness? Do you know how many people's thoughts are on you? Do you know how many people's thoughts, feelings, energy is stuck on you? It's just stuck on you? Are you doing anything to get rid of their energy? I said, no, how? So I tell them how to do that, how to get rid of the energy, because you have to be responsible for what comes in your sacred space. I once had a lady come to me for a reading, and she came to my door, and I looked at her, and her aura, her sacred space, was ripped and torn, holes, and there was all these spots on her, and she had other people's energy on her. She said, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? I said, it's not what's wrong with you, it's who's wrong with you.
No matter how intense or ordinary, cause us to completely lose track of the most important key ability that allows everything we attempt become reality.
We were created by a higher source, right? The omnipotent power, the force of all there is, love, God, Yahweh, Buddha, whatever we want to call it, we come from something greater than us. In fact, when it created us, it actually divided itself into us. So it cannot separate itself from us. It is always a part of us. Just like when the human egg is fertilized, this is a zygote, and the zygote starts splitting into the 33 billion cells that become us. Each one of the cells carries our DNA. And in that DNA is all of who we are and all of who we're meant to become. Well, it's the same thing when God created us. When he divided himself, we got his DNA, its DNA, okay? And in its DNA is all of who we are, and it is. And that is attached to us forever, which means all of the wonderful things that go along with that, all abundance, all happiness, all joy, all prosperity, comes along with that inherently. So each one of us, just as we have the ability to take one of our human cells and pull the DNA from it and create a completely new being, we have the ability to use God's DNA to create the life we want. So if we're not, and if we're saying, God, it's not working, that means we're doing something wrong or something is missing. Let me see if I can explain this to you a little differently. When you want to bake a cake, and you gather some of the best ingredients, and you use the finest Rachel Ray utensils and mixing bowls to put it all together, and you pour it into a Pampered Chef expensive pan, and you stick it into the most expensive Gen Air oven, unless you've done the most important thing first, you will never get those ingredients to turn into a cake. What is the first line of directions in any recipe on baking a cake? Preheat the oven. you have to preheat the oven to let it get hot, so by the time you apply and put in the ingredients, it processes those ingredients into the cake that you want. So, if you are not living the life you want, or if you're attempting and keep hitting stumbling blocks, then you are missing or you've lost track of a process, the most important process that turns what you do into fruition. So what is this process that we're missing? I can't tell you. Not yet. I have to actually show you why you're missing it first. This is the mind we actually came in with and incarnated with. It's the mind that was created the moment God created us, and it divided itself. It's the mind that has its DNA. So it knows everything wonderful, loving, positive, joyful. So here we come, born into and incarnated into this physical world, and we grow into these wonderful, loving toddlers who enjoy every moment, every sound, every smell, every taste, every person, willing to share its melting ice cream cone with a stranger. Then life as we know it happens to it. And it begins to receive negative messages and influences from its environment. Dr. John Gray, who wrote Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, in one of his earlier books stated, our self-love begins to break down from the moment we hear the first negative unconscious message that we should not appreciate ourselves. So I say that again. Self-love breaks down from the moment we hear a negative message that we should not appreciate ourselves. So if you're not creating the life you want because the processing isn't working, this is where it began to break down. This is where all our pains come from, all our supposed insecurities, where we harbor feelings of lack of self-worth. We're not good enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not worthy. I'm not adequate. That's all developed down here. So, because the pains are so great from the environmental mind, and we don't like that, we create the adult-made mind. Isn't that nice and simple and clear? Or the AMM. The AMM protects us against the pains of the environmental-made mind. As a matter of fact, this is the mind that Freud said we harbor all of those defense mechanisms. In the adult-made mind and in the environmental-made mind, when you attempt to create anything that you want, you're missing the processing. You cannot process from up here. The processing comes from down there. This is completely fake. The heat that turns the ingredients into a cake, the process you need to turn everything you do into fruition, the thing that reconnects you to God, that reconnects you to all the wisdom, all the knowledge, all your inner peace, all your divinely endowed gifts, is unconditional self-belief and self-love. But you have to understand that when you think you're believing in yourself, when you're attempting to create a better life and it's not working, it's because you're using a false sense of self-belief. And you're going to use your own life to prove that as a barometer. To the extent that your life and dreams are unfulfilled and not working is the extent of your lack of self-belief. And I'll add, to the extent of your inability to love others and be loving is the extent of your lack of self-love. That's a hard one to accept, right? That is really hard. However, if it gives you an answer on how to turn everything around, then it's worth hearing, because the miracle answer is right around the corner. Hang in there with me. Let me turn this into a positive. To the extent that your life and dreams are fulfilled is the extent that you have unconditional self-belief and self-love. And you can reverse that too. To the extent that you have unconditional self-belief and self-love is the extent that your life and dreams are fulfilled. So if you want to know how much you believe in yourself or not, you have to use your life as a measurement. All right, now I know some of you are sitting there and you're saying to yourself, well, wait a minute. Are you saying that if I have any doubts that I'm not loving myself, or can't I love myself sometimes and not other times? Doubt, this small little word, okay, it's like a tiny little cloud that happens to drift in on a nice sunny day, and it blocks the sun. Now, momentarily, you don't see the sun, but it doesn't mean that the sun is not there. As soon as more wind comes along, it blows the doubt out of the way, the cloud out of the way, and you see the sun again. All right, well, self-doubt is like that. Real self-doubt comes in, blocks a little, but because your self-belief is fairly strong, it then goes away. If you've got a cloud that comes in and refuses to leave, chances are you are working off of the wrong self-love. When you tap into true self-love, I mean, that gives you such strength. Yeah, things get in the way. So yes, can sometimes you love yourself and other times not love yourself? Yes, your poor soul is working its you-know-what off, and it keeps trying and trying and trying, and sometimes, like I said, it gets through and you feel that centering, that place that we're so thriving for and thirsty for. And then other times, it dissipates real easy. Well, if you're going back and forth real quick, chances are you're still living off of the false sense of self-belief. Well, here's the best part about all of that. You do not have to go through years of therapy to get rid of the AMM and EMM. The way you get rid of the AMM and the EMM is by facing it. Facing it. That's it. For example, you know when you have a nightmare? When you have a nightmare that somebody is chasing you and running after you, you feel that incredible fear, right? In my dream, I'm able to stop running, turn around, and look at what's chasing me. The minute I do that, even though the character may shoot me, stab me, try to kill me in some way, because that's what happens in your nightmares a lot, right? All right? I'm standing there in my dream, looking at myself with the bullet having gone through, totally unafraid, totally strong, and knowing I'm going to be all right, I can deal with this. And when I wake up with a sense of peace, realizing that that was a reflection of what I'm doing in my life. That even though negative will come along, the minute you face it, you disempower it. Some of your greatest spiritual leaders tried to teach that. Jesus, Gandhi, Martin Luther King Jr. all said, stand up to that which confronts you and threatens you, and you automatically disempower it. You do not have to fight back. Rosa Parks did not have a bat with her the day she refused to get up out of her seat. She faced the threat with love in her heart and peace, and the threat backed down. It weakens it. It has to. It's because positive is so much stronger than negative, and the law of critical mass says you do not have to have a large amount of positive to overpower the negative. You only need a small amount. Disney movies have always fascinated me, and I've always loved them. The Disneys, as a matter of fact, happen to be very spiritual beings who included metaphysical messages in their earlier cartoons. Now, the cartoon and the moral was meant for the child, but the metaphysical meaning was meant for the adult. For example, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs is actually a story about our divine feminine and our divine masculine. And when we get our 7 spiritual centers in alignment and they're acting in harmony and balance, our divine feminine and masculine can come together, and it produces magic and love. Well, The Lion King is one of the best ones, because The Lion King, which is one of the more recent Disney movies, is about who we are. Let me remind you of the story real quick. Mufasa, who is the king, Simba's father, he represents God. And as long as God and Mufasa are in place, there is total harmony and balance at Pride Rock. And everything and everybody knows its place and the way to respond. Simba comes along, they have Simba. Simba represents us, Mufasa's children. And as we're growing up, and as Simba's growing up and having fun and rollicking through life, all of a sudden he starts getting caught up in some of the negatives of life. His uncle Scar. And his uncle Scar now starts to influence him. And so Simba, being young that he is, isn't making all the right choices. And because of one of his acts, he actually causes Mufasa's death. God leaves. So now Simba, feeling bad, because he's working off of his EMM, all right, runs away. He's feeling guilty that he caused the death of his father. He runs away, tries to forget it, and he takes on, as he grows up, a whole new set of beliefs, Hakuna Matata. And that makes him feel good and distracts him from all his pains. But as he's going through his life, he's feeling a disturbance within. He's feeling that he's neglected something, that there's something more to him, but he doesn't know how to get to it. The moment he makes that recognition, Nala, his old girlfriend, finds him, the divine feminine, sneaks its way in there and reminds Simba who he once was. And when he knew who he was and everybody was in its place, everything was balanced at Pride Rock. But now that Simba has run away, I mean, Pride Rock has gone to hell in a handbasket. So now Simba knows, Nala leaves, Simba says, go away, I don't know what to do, I don't know how to get back. And he, just in that asking, just in that wondering what to do, all of a sudden out of the clear blue, Rafiki appears, the monkey. Rafiki is his higher self. And Rafiki reminds Simba how to go back home. This is the most important scene in the movie, and now I want you to watch it with spiritual eyes to see if you get that message.
That's not my father. It's just my reflection.
No. Look hard. You see, he lives in you. Simba.
Father?
Simba, you have forgotten me.
No. How could I?
You have forgotten who you are, and so forgotten me. Look inside yourself, Simba. You are more than what you have become. You must take your place in the circle of life.
How can I go back? I'm not who I used to be.
Remember who you are. You are my son, and the one true king. Remember who you are.
No! Please! Don't leave me! Father! Don't leave me.
What was that? The weather. Very peculiar, don't you think?
Yeah. Looks like the winds are changing.
Change is good.
Yeah, but it's not easy. I know what I have to do, but going back means I'll have to face my past. I've been running from it for so long. Ow! Jeez, what was that for?
It doesn't matter. It's in the past.
Yeah, but it still hurts.
Oh, yes, the past can hurt. But the way I see it, you can either run from it or learn from it. Ah! You see? So what are you going to do?
First, I'm gonna take your stick.
No, 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 no! Not a stick! Hey! Where are you going?
I'm going back!
Good! Go on! Get out of here!
So Mufasa the king, God, is telling his child that he is God. Now, where did we hear that story before? This isn't a story about Jesus. This is a story about us. So God is telling his children they're God, and he has to remember that and take his rightful place with that. And this is what happens. To finish the story, he musters up all of this incredible courage now, goes back to Pride Rock, gets rid of all the evils, conquers them all, gets rid of Scar, and now Pride Rock goes back to the balance that it was always meant to be, because he remembered who he was. Now, here's the thing, like I said before, what was it that Simba did that was so special? All he did was to acknowledge and recognize how he's been fooling himself all along. All you have to do is look it square in the face whenever you feel anything negative that comes into your mind or heart, comes from here. And you turn around and you say, "Stop, O ye of negative belief. This is not me. This is coming from what Vinny said is my AMM." It won't work unless you throw in the Vinny Vincent part, okay? Be gone. You're not real. And then once you face it, you have to follow it up with a reinforcement. And the reinforcement is to remember who you are. That's not me. I am special. I am magnificent. I am a child of God. And that gives me all of the divine gifts that come with that, that's inherent with that. So any of that negative just now had nothing to do with the real me. That's all you have to do. That's all you have to do. But the moment something gets in the way, just stop it. You have all done so much. You have all come so far. I mean, really, think about it. You are sitting here supporting, loving, giving, caring. And honestly, unless you're an escaped convict from Central Prison, chances are you've done and made more positive choices than you've made negative and lower choices. But all you have to do is know when you're not believing enough. That's it. That's the bottom line answer. That's it. I challenge you to go home tonight, and from this evening, I want you to look for the changes that will occur in your life as of right now, just from being here and listening to this lecture tonight. That's all it takes, is an openness. And I challenge you to find it, whether it be tonight, whether it be tomorrow, whether it be a phone call, whether it be some small thing, something is going to happen. And then I continue to challenge you to be aware of your thoughts for the rest of your life. And every time a negative comes across, you're going to stop it, you're going to recognize it, you're going to disempower it, and then you're going to say, I'm better than that. So here, I need everybody to do an affirmation with me. And here's the point of affirmations, people. Affirmations aren't pretty words that we say. Affirmations evoke feelings. And remember when I said that those other minds train your subconscious mind? Well, because your conscious mind is only 2 to 5% of your awareness, and the subconscious mind kicks in there, what you're doing with affirmations is you're retraining your subconscious mind. So now you get response from what you're retraining it with. So you say these affirmations. And just repeat after me. I am a magnificent child of the divine source. I am a magnificent child of the divine source. All that God is, I have within me. All that God is, I have within me. And I recognize that every negative and doubtful thought and feeling comes from my EMM and AMM and not from the real me. There is nothing I have to do to earn or deserve, to achieve or obtain in order to be magnificent and to have abundant love, happiness, wellness, adoring relationships, prosperity, and all my dreams fulfilled. With the best feeling right now, don't repeat that. I just have to accept myself, believe in myself, and love myself. Right now, the way I am. And so I do. And so it is. Amen. Thank you again for coming, and namaste. I bow to the spirit within you. Everybody, good night. Thank you.
I give you the ability to see your magnificence and believe in yourself, so you can use your divinely endowed gifts to create the life and fulfill the dreams you want.
Good afternoon. My name is Gary Beckman. I'm the executive producer of the Edge Life Expos and events. It's truly my privilege to be interviewing and talking with my wife, Insia Bauda Beckman. Insia, what is the cause and what is the cure, if there is anything, to the great chaos that's going across the entire spectrum of our society? Or what do you have to share with us about the chaos that's taking place?
My perception of what the chaos is a balancing of energies, it's a balancing of things. And because there is so much of light coming through, those that are on the negative side, the negativity is getting more enhanced, and those that are on the positive side are expanding consciousness-wise and energetically. So as far as what we can do as people, it's up to the individual entirely. It's according to their perception, and it's according to their choices, and whatever choices they make, because we all have free will. And if they choose to ascend, we're in a consciousness stage where everything is changing. Humanity is changing, all life on this planet is changing, and not only life on this planet, but in our universe and the whole cosmos, because we all related. We all part of the one. We all shifting and changing to a higher consciousness and higher levels. And this has not happened for the first time. It has happened 2 times before, 2 golden ages before. And this is the 3rd time where we're getting into a golden age. Okay. So it's whatever happens will be according to what choices humanity makes as a collective.
Insia, you brought up with your last comments a very, very important question that's been asked for thousands of years. Do you believe we're alone and the only species in our universe
and the entire solar system?
I would say it's absolute absurdity for anyone to think that we're the only species living in this whole cosmos. If you look around you, there's universes everywhere, there's galaxies everywhere with thousands of universes, and there's intelligent life elsewhere. And these aspects of seeing flying saucers and people contacting other beings, or aliens as they call them, is for real. I believe that absolutely.
Are they friendly or are they adversarial?
They come as helpers because we're going through this ascension. They come as helpers to assist us. But because we're so afraid of them and because we've had so much anti-feelings toward them with negative movies about them being bad and etc., they are a little cautious about total open contact. But I believe absolutely from my heart of hearts that there will be open contact when we are in dire straits, and we will be more open to help and more open to communication. And we will be seeing them more and more and more in the skies as consciousness changes and people become more aware of them.
And Insia, what tools or philosophy or belief systems could you share with the people watching this today? What would you like to share with them, really to help them, assist them in this transitional time?
I would really want people to be in a place of their hearts, because love is the most powerful tool and the most powerful healer on the planet. Nothing else will change people, nothing else will make this a better planet except love for humanity, love for all life, and love for all creation. Because we are made from love. God created us from love. And that's what we are. That's who we are. We are love. And the more we believe that we are love, that we are one with all life, and that we share everything as part of a collective made from the love consciousness, the better the planet will be. And there'll be more harmony, there'll be more peace, there'll be more grace, there'll be more caring, and less of this destructive violence that you see and the madness and chaos that you see all around.
Thank you, Insia. That's, in my mind, I've been with her for 15, 16 years, and one thing that has come up is that if you have love, makes life a lot easier and a much more peaceful environment. Thank you, Insia.
We would like to invite you to Minneapolis Holistic Expo, November 2nd and 3rd. The Holistic Expo will feature over 50 different exhibitors, several dynamic spiritual speakers, including James Van Praagh, Vincent Genna, and John DeSalvo, many intuitive readers, and so much more. For more information on attending the Minneapolis Holistic Expo, go to www.edgelife.net.
This is Gary Beckman, welcoming you to the 2013 Edge Life Expo. Come and see us.